We remember the Omni. Yeah, that building right there. That's what we're going to talk about today, coming up right now. Cole Sports presents on the daily. Well, welcome back to my channel. Cole Johnson's on the mic on the Daily on Tap, presented by Cole Sports. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Like this video. And I want to hear what you have to say. Comment below because I want to hear other ideas that you want me to do. And don't forget, subscribe to this video and subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. And for those who love this shirt, I've heard a couple people loving it. I always love this shirt. This is one of my best designs, one of the best sellers. The description box below has the deets. Thursday, is it? Yeah. And Thursday, you know how we get down. We love history around here. And I want to uplift the ATL for a second, because we're dealing with wanting the whole city to fire Dan Quinn, dealing with how you have a vast array of offensive weapons, but the defense sucks. And then we don't want to talk about the Hawks, but you do have the Braves. I mean, heck, they're in the NLCS. That's an exciting thing, right? So, oh yeah, but that's right. Atlanta really doesn't care about the Braves. But see, I want to uplift Atlanta because I consider it to be one of my homes away from home. And I feel that they need a boost because after that debacle of an onside kick recovery in Dallas, you all need to have some feeling of pride. And I looked on this date in history, and this is when one of the most important arenas in the South opened. That's right, the Omni. We're going to focus on that today in this edition's October 15th, 1972. And that is the date this building was open for business. The Omni Coliseum, that's the official name of the building. But what makes this structure interesting is that this was only one part of all of what they're going to do in Atlanta, at least downtown Atlanta in that area, right? So this was the crown jewel of downtown Atlanta in this little complex because they had designs for other things, such as halls of fame, such as convention centers, such as hotels, such as retail, and such as later on in the decade, the CNN Center. That wonderful complex right there is now a tourist attraction. Why, I have no idea, but it is. And one of the most popular hotels in Atlanta is the Omni Atlanta. It's also in the same area as where the Omni was built and where it called home for over 2 decades. Now, this was the building itself and the area, both were ahead of its time. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, the game that started this all was an exhibition match between the Hawks, the Atlanta Hawks, and the New York Knicks. Now, I know you say, well, why they play the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks suck. Well, the Knicks suck now. But the Knicks in 1970, 71, 72, and 73, not so much. They won the NBA championship in 1970. They were bounced in the Eastern Conference Final to the eventual champion Milwaukee Bucks in 1971. They lost in a gentleman's sweep to the Lakers in 1972's NBA Finals, but they called the World Championship Series back then. And that is now we're in the October of that year. And that year, they went on 7 months later to win their most recent NBA championship. So this was a really good opponent to open against. Now, the building was built for The Hawks and the Atlanta Flames, the NHL franchise. Yeah, the same one. Yes, Flames. Yeah, I know there's a team in Calgary that's named the Flames. Yeah, same team. They were in Atlanta for the first 9 years of their existence. They uprooted, went north of the border. That's where they are now. Well, that building with the Hawks, they would be what, in capacity over 16,000 with hockey, and the Flames, it was over 15,000. But it was primarily, I would have to say, set up for the Hawks. Now, they came from St. Louis in 1968, and they played in the Alexander Memorial Coliseum, the place where Georgia Institute of Technology plays. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't know it by that. We all know it by Georgia Tech. Well, that was their home, and that would be their home again in the 90s. So that was their home before the Omni was built. And once it was built, there you go. Now, the structure itself, it was supposed to be weathered steel, and the rust that was supposed to form was to reinforce the strength of the steel. And it would give this look of, I guess you could say, an industrial and cutting edge type of look with a cutting edge style of stadium and arena. Let me touch on the complex. How revolutionary was it? Well, I can name the McNichols Arena area in Denver and the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio, the suburb of Cleveland, where the Cavaliers played for many a year. Now, that's a patch. There was another place that resembled what the Omni Complex, now known as the CNN Center, also did. I grew up in Houston. And in Houston, a similar type of structure was built in the Summit. That was built in 1975, and they had also retail, also hotel, also business parks, and one of its centerpieces and crown jewels was the Summit. Inside the arena was almost looked the exact same as the Omni, because the seats were the same color, and the seats that you saw, they were colored, if I can remember the seating colors: red, yellow, orange, and purple. That was the seating color in the Summit. The same with the Omni. And I had to back when I was young, I remissed. I was like, wow, I want to go to see the Omni, see how close the Omni and the Summit resemble itself. And it resembled a lot. A lot. Now, along with hosting the Hawks and the Flames, they, of course, hosted many concerts. I mean, well, you didn't have any arenas close to that size in the 70s, 80s, all the way till about the early 90s that would host major concert venues such as the Omni. I mean, you would have to go to stadiums like Fulton County, like the Superdome in New Orleans, like the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. In the whole South, you would have to go to those arenas, or maybe Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, or well, you could choose or pick any college arena. Well, the Dean Dome, I guess you could say, in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You would have to go to those places that would seat more than 10,000 people all throughout the South. Otherwise, you had auditoriums and coliseums that sat between 6,000 and 9,000 people. The Omni was the place. It was the place in the South. That's how important it was. So, of course, along with hosting concerts, they also hosted the Flames, as I mentioned earlier. They also hosted the 1977 Final Four, and along with many other regional games that the NCAA tournament held. They also hosted the 1988 Democratic National Convention, the one where Michael Dukakis claimed the #1 prize, announcing that Lloyd Benson would be his running mate losing to George H.W. Bush later on that November. And then there was wrestling. Yes. Woo! And funky like a monkey. Yes. Wrestling, especially National Wrestling Alliance. That is where they held their biggest cards, the biggest feuds, would have their blow off matches normally in the Omni. And if they wanted to have that type of event, that was the place to hold it. Now, I mean, they discovered other places like the Greensboro Coliseum, which in time they held as many as the Omni did. Unfortunately, it just wasn't as, I guess you could say, top tier in terms of building in the 70s and 80s, like the Omni was. Yeah, and that's how important the building was. It really was a mecca for the South. Unfortunately, unfortunately, one of the things they wanted to do with this stadium, with this arena, was to have the weathered steel and the rust strengthen over time. Well, Atlanta is a humid climate, and because of that, the rust just went out of control. It corroded the walls. It formed holes in said walls to the point where you actually saw people climb into the arena from those holes. And it got so bad that Fulton County officials had to wrap the arena with chain link fences. That's how bad it got. And if it wasn't the walls that corroded, it was the roof that corroded, the one that looks like, and you saw it earlier, it looks like either a rusted waffle iron or an egg crate. The rust hurt the roof to the point where it leaked water as well. So you had rust eating up the walls, rust eating up the roof. And by the early 90s, the replacement for this arena was starting to get louder and louder in noise. And so you had places like the Georgia Dome, which was around the same area as the Omni Forum. This was in 1992, so it took a little pressure off of the Omni to host a lot of indoor events such as graduations or even concerts or even wrestling events. So you had this there, and it took to 1997 for it to sort of move its way out of view. And then on top of it, you had other things to take its place. One of them being the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which they demolished the Georgia Dome, and that is now the state-of-the-art replacement there. As for the Omni, well, it took a couple years to replace it, but when they replaced it, the Phillips Arena / now State Farm Arena was what resulted. And yes, you could see it has Atlanta spelled out in the front entrance of the arena. Atlanta is a very important city, and one of the things that makes it important is the fact it does have a rich sports history. And the sports history that it does have is broad, from basketball to football to even wrestling. It carries a big, 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 big history. And I'm remiss that I get a chance to visit the Omni, but oh well. I still have the memories. I still can see many taped events of that place, and I hope Atlantans enjoyed the Omni when it was there, and hope they enjoy it now, even though it's been gone for over 20 years. But I really hope that they understand how important the Omni was, because that structure is important in all of sports. Now, if you really want to comment about the Omni. I want like this video and then comment below. I want to hear what you have to say. And don't forget to subscribe to this video and hit the notification bell to get all the content that you can want from this channel. Well, that's all my time. I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily.